whatever is the name.
I can't remember. Rebel.
Red something rebel, right?
Red Rebel?
Red rebel?
Yeah, because she had red hair.
Exactly, but red something, yeah. 1, 2. Mayday, Happy Brownie here. Welcome back. Let's talk about heartbreaks with my lovely... lovely and amazing friend, Emma, all the way from England.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited about this conversation because the first night we saw each other for the second time after we met, we went deep, girl. We went just
really did.
We did, and we we connected, and we felt that connection even stronger than the first time we met because we met at a festival.
Yes.
And we lost contact. It was this crazy night that we lost contact. Then we met at a nightclub. It was like that, right?
Yes.
And we started talking about feelings, and it was beautiful and amazing.
It was.
It was, right?
It was like. Because even though it was a crazy night that night.
It was a crazy night.
It was intense. But like, I left that night despite feeling like so crappy. Physically, I was like, you know what? I made a good ass friend that night.
Oh yeah, that made me cry. I'm like so sensitive today. But that's true because we just sat outside and you started talking and a topic lead to the other one, and yeah.
It was so peaceful.
It was so
wasn't
peaceful
it?
and so like easy to talk to you.
Yes.
And that's why we're having these conversations about heartbreaks and love. Because I think we shared a lot about that and we have really good experiences to share with all of you. So let's talk about our first heartbreaks.
Yes.
How many have you had?
How many have I had?
Yeah.
I would say I've had 2,
Okay.
but they were so different. So different. Like, I consider the first one very, like, significant in my life, but it's not the same, you know? I feel like as I got older, it was like, okay, we had more independence now, like, you kind of know yourself a bit more.
Exactly.
And so you put more into someone, and then when it goes wrong...
Yeah, and you learn about love.
Yes.
You learn because it's not like we came to this life just knowing everything or recognizing our feelings, and love is so important, especially in romantic relationships, because we can get love from our parents, from our relative, from our friends, but when you're in love with someone, it just feels different.
100%.
It just
100%.
feels different.
Because I feel like sometimes it can come out of nowhere, other times it can just like suddenly be like a slow...
Exactly.
Either way, once you have it, it's so special. And I remember us like talking about before, like the difference between knowing whether there's like obsession, infatuation, or love. And I feel like sometimes they are intertwined.
Yeah, they do.
When those two are together...
It's really hard, right?
Yeah.
So
it's great in the time, though.
It is great at the time. You feel amazing. But then when things get hard, I think the most important part of having a relationship when you start and after you, of course, experience that heartbreak is just getting to know yourself enough to know what kind of love you want in your life.
Yes.
So what have you learned with your different heartbreaks? Maybe like the one that taught you the most.
Oof. Comparing the two, my first 2, they're not that different because I was kind of rooted in the same insecurity. So I was seeking the same thing, which was basically just someone who was,
I feel you.
Yeah. And I think that's normal. And one thing about breakups is that it will teach you what you have not been giving to yourself.
Yes.
And
if
what
you
you've
want
been
to learn
for in others.
Exactly. I think
if you want to learn.
Exactly. I think what I love the most is because we started sharing like what we learned from it instead of just sharing how awful we felt, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference, okay? Maybe they mistreated us, maybe we got really hurt, or maybe we hurt other people because it happens in relationships. But if you learn from that, I think that's the most important lesson.
I agree.
Relationships are not easy. Like,
yeah.
What was the easiest part for you? Like?
The easiest, well, as in like when you're in it?
Yeah.
I think just the highs, like, even when it's unhealthy, you get this validation.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
It's like a quick fix, you know? Like, and even if you know this person is worse for you than others, it's even better in a way because it's like, okay, like, it's so good and you know you shouldn't have it. And again, even the great parts before... Yeah, it's the validation. It's feeling like someone sees you for who you are, and you're enjoying this time with someone else.
Exactly. That's how we feel. How old were you when you first started dating? That's also very important.
My first, like, my first like boyfriend, I guess, it was not the same as what I consider my first big relationship. I was really young. I was 13. What about you?
I was pretty old, actually. My first relationship, I was 22, 21, probably 21. So yeah, it's different. And before, I didn't date because, of course, I had this idea in my head. I don't want to get hurt. But I got hurt without dating, which was weird. My first heartbreak was not someone that I would say I was in love with, but it was more like that toxic relationship, that situationship.
Right.
Exactly. So you don't know where you stand. And it hurts the most, even though you were not in love, because you want that person, but you couldn't have it. And it was so... It's like you give and then you take away, and it's so toxic. Oh my God.
That's what I mean. And it's like, it's just addictive.
Exactly.
It's addictive.
It's because when it's good, it's so freaking good. And when it's bad, it's so freaking bad. And the fact that you're not with them in a relationship,
it's a chase. It literally is like a drug. And I feel like drug. We've talked about it before as well. Like, and I feel like it's so important to mention, like, once you get out of something like that, I feel like people think that it's over and you're free, but you have this like inner thing where you're just like, okay, whatever I have next, kind of, it has to be the same, otherwise it's not going to be good enough. It has to be this pull and push, and like not this peaceful thing, otherwise you'll get bored. Otherwise,
I think, now let's go deep into those feelings. Like, how do you feel when you experience a heartbreak? What is the hardest part of that?
Oh, girl I feel like it's just the first, for me, I don't know how you feel, it's the admitting that it's done.
Yeah.
And not knowing how you're going to move on without this person, because you feel like if you've been really like into someone for a long time, you have had this like thing develop, it's just not what you would consider is going to happen. And it's the thought of like thinking that they're going to move on with someone else, which hurts so
I think
much.
we've talked about it before, the fact that when you fall in love with someone at the beginning, right? Before you have your heart broken, you see this light in them, and they're like, you see the best in them. Even if you want to prove yourself that they can do better.
Yeah.
And you see the best version of them, even if other people don't.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't, at least for me, in my part, I was never the one who broke the relationship, because I still believed in them so bad, into knowing that you can do way better. And if you're having a bad time, I will be there to support you. And I don't like to give up on things, but something my psychology told me, that it is important to recognize how much you give, which is not bad, but also how much you deserve, because it's a relationship. It has to be reciprocated. If you're giving more than you're receiving, something is unbalanced there.
Yeah.
And that's why you feel sad.
Even if you're comfortable with being the giver in the relationship, you need to, it's hard to realize when it's too much. And when you just think, okay, am I loving this person, or am I like giving myself away and not being able to like support the love that you need for yourself? And
but you're not. We're givers, right?
We're givers. We're givers, baby. We love to give. We do. But like, and that's a beautiful thing, you know. Like, it's okay to be happy to like be so vulnerable with someone, and it's just having to learn, probably through the hard way, girl, let's be honest, that like you need to be aware of when too much is too much.
That's what I'm still like learning. It's like the whole process of like recovering from a breakup. You have to kill them emotionally. They're still alive. Yeah. But in your mind, you have to kill them, because even if you were the one who broke up the relationship, or the other person left you, where does that love go? It's so hard to...
Yes. Yeah. You're so used to giving something to someone.
Yes. And now that love have to go back to you, because you were the one who was giving it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think the breaking point is recognizing that is my love. And it's so hard, because sometimes it's not you're missing the other person. You're missing giving that love away.
Yes. Yeah.
Why do we have to give our love away?
Yeah. Because I think that it's so hard to turn that around and put back on yourself. One, because of just so many, like, obviously insecurities that like everyone has, but also just because it doesn't feel like natural, and it doesn't feel like it is possible to give that to yourself. You know, I feel like in society, big buzzword, you're always told to like give love to your partner, not even like family necessarily. That's like true. Friends. Like the one thing that you are like through media, like music and stuff, it's always about like love and romantic love specifically.
Yeah. Our whole life has been romanticized so much into believing that love in a certain way is the right love, but no. And I think at some point the relationship, when they go away or you leave, like, you have to understand that it's okay. We have to learn to let go, and like, maybe that person, we're not able to give enough what we needed, but only a person can give you as much as they give themselves and love themselves and respect themselves. If they don't do that with themselves, how are they gonna? Would you ever gonna expect them to treat you the right way?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even if you want to work it out, there's no way. You cannot force anyone to stay.
And it's that, like, as you said, they can be so, like, genuinely in love with you, but it does not mean that it's like a good idea to stay with that person. Also, I feel like unconditional love is so, like, glamorized.
Yes, it is. It is.
And it's just, I feel like that is a key part of why a lot of people keep going, not just because that fixed, but because, like, people are told, like, okay, if you love each other, then blah 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 blah. But yeah, if there's something within themselves that they cannot fix, the quickest way for it to show, like, physically, is through being in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
Like, it tests you no matter who you're with.
No,
and
really. And some relationships can really get you to know yourself more, into like, maybe I should like start changing this way because maybe I have some like past traumas I have to work on, and they push you to be better at, and it's not like they want to change you, but the person that loves you seeing something that maybe is not working for you, and they tell you, and if you don't want to work that part, it's really hard to be with someone, you know, like, because we all like carry this really big backpack of fears.
I love the backpack analogy.
Of fears.
Kicking my feet. Like.
And love, and like post traumas. And the thing is, like, when we open the backpack, everything can come out as a storm, or little by little. And other people, they don't know what's inside their backpack, so they don't know what love to give, and they don't know what kind of pain they have.
They're just on the journey.
They're just down the
got
journey.
It on the back, like.
Yes, but being in love is so beautiful. I have to say that
it is. Now I'm moved on, and from these like experiences, I feel like the one thing that I've learned, even though we're still so young, is that like love is not inherently like this like drug, as we've talked about. Like, it is a beautiful thing. It's peaceful, at least for me. Like, it's comfortable, and yes, it like the relationship itself tests you, but it is how you come, I think, and like admit that you have things that you need to work on. You're never going to come into like a relationship with someone perfect, but it's just having the emotional maturity, like, which is hard. Like,
emotional maturity, girl, that is very
so
important.
hard to have.
So hard to have,
but that's what's going to get you there, I think.
Exactly. And as like, the more you work on yourself, the more you will attract the love you deserve. And as long as you believe in that, that is just beautiful. And as long as you love and you try your best, your really best, not to hurt the people that you love. Even we all know at the end we might get hurt, right? When you fall in love, you don't know what's going to happen after that. You cannot control it, but you can at least be emotional mature to respect and to leave the other person, if you want to do that with dignity and respect and love. And if you're the one who leaves, be really empathetic to do it. Otherwise, you will hurt someone.
Yes, 100%. Like, I think that's what I see in a lot of like relationships around me who are like so like healthy, is that they communicate, they have empathy for each other, and they're emotionally mature. Like, and I feel like it's hard to get that, especially at like our age, but it's in you. And I think like, I don't know if you can teach empathy, but I think you can teach maturity, and maturity allows you to dig into that empathy and not break someone's heart.
Please. Please don't do that.
Just two girls on a sofa.
Yes, right. Oh my god.
But I feel like we're good. I definitely feel like we're good.
Yes. We've loved, we've lost, and then we're just seeing this journey. How about red flags?
Okay. So red flags.
Red flags, yes, please.
I kind of love this topic. I love this topic because, like, I'm such the girl to be like, red flags are, like, not a good thing. But they exist. I don't care. They're fun to talk about.
Yeah, they're really fun to talk about because at some point, like, you sure experience it and they ended up being, like, the same. And you're like, that is a red flag.
Yes. They can be good to talk about. And I think especially the ones where like it just shows you how much of a person you don't really want them in your life.
Yeah,
That
for sure.
You know. So I think my big go-to is when people are rude. And this is a classic, when people are rude to waitresses and waiters and service people.
For me, that's a no. Come on, if you treat other people like that, I feel so bad.
Right.
I feel so bad.
It's genuinely so uncomfortable. This is my big one, and I think it's a big indicator of how they treat people when they're not necessarily interested.
I have two big red flags. The first one, not knowing anything about their past.
Right.
Because you don't know, boy. I don't know.
You haven't reflected.
Yes.
You haven't reflected.
Yeah.
I agree.
And when they tell you a lot of bullshit about their exes, a lot.
Oh.
Maybe they are the problem, not you.
Yes.
And they tell you they're the worst, and you start like, oh, well, you experienced that. I'm so sorry for you, right?
Yeah.
And you feel so bad. But at the end, I've never talked that much bullshit about someone that I once loved. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about bullshit with my next partner about my ex. I can say, this happened. We ended up the relationship. That's it. Yeah.
Because I feel like, at least from my perspective, it's kind of an indicator that you're not really over them. If you have that much energy to
yes. Definitely,
even if you're not still into them, there's so much anger there that's holding so much energy, you know.
But not even talking about them, just the fact that when you mention them, when you say something like you leave them in a really bad spot and maybe they don't deserve to be there, right? Yeah. People have made mistakes, but don't tell me you had the craziest ex.
Yeah, crazy. It's a red flag for me. Oh my God. It's horrible. And I feel like it is finding that balance between having respect for the person that you're dating and also being able to show that you have moved on.
And the last one, if they still talk with their ex, I'm so sorry about that.
Okay. This is the thing. Do you think that people can stay friends with their exes?
It is possible depending on the way they ended up things. But also you have to be mature enough to respect the person you're starting a relationship with. Yeah. So maybe 1 year and then I'm going to catch up with my ex to see how is the other person. I think that's completely mature. I would even respect that. And that's completely natural. But in the process of you getting to know someone, still having your ex present as a best friend or something, I think that's really disrespectful for the other person, most of all, because you've been with that person in a relationship and now you're getting to know someone else. And that's at least from my personal experience, gave me a lot of instability and make me feel very, very lost. And that's a bad indicator. It's so bad, how I started that relationship. I think that's a bad thing. That's why I went so unstable throughout the way.
Yes. Yeah, but there's friends where you catch up with them every now and then there's friends where they're constantly in your life, constantly checking up on you, because then the barrier, the lines are so grey. And I think when someone starts dating someone, that's normally, at least what I've seen, is when you start to realize that they don't just see you as a friend, or you start to realize, okay, this person has moved on, but them dating someone else is
exactly.
I don't know if I could ever be really a really close friend. I'm on good terms with both of my
that's the thing. It was not my decision, so I could have ended up things way different, so we could have just contacted each other after a couple of months. But the way things ended up, I really don't want those kind of people in my life. I don't want them to suck my energy. So it's just more just let the time go. Maybe they will realize, maybe I will realize, maybe we'll both find each other in the future and say oh yeah, this happened. But this moment in my life,
for now,
no.
Definitely. Yeah. And we've said before, the thing that you want when you have lost someone through a breakup is you want closure. But this won't necessarily happen, especially if you've ended on bad notes. So if you don't have closure, obviously you're not going to be friends.
Yes. That's completely true.
But sometimes you'll never get closure, and that's okay.
Exactly. You have find your own closure, and that's fine. And also, if they ended up the relationship, please, zero contact. Believe me, it's the best way. That's so hard.
Girl, if that was anything that we could say.
Really? You cannot do that?
No. I'm saying this is the number one thing. Yes, I don't care if you're not cousins. That would be weird. I don't care if you're deeply connected in some way and you end on good terms. Just the no contact is necessary.
It's so necessary. I did that. That's why I blocked all of my... at the beginning.
But that's okay.
At the beginning, but there's a point I unblock them. I feel like,
Right.
okay, I'm like ready. But at the beginning, because they were not respecting that. So I felt like,
yes,
this is my limit, boy.
boundaries.
Don't
baby.
talk to me.
Boundaries.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious. What is the worst thing you've ever heard from an ex?
Okay. The worst thing that I've heard, like, is probably, okay, we talked about this before we went to dinner, like, I love dancing. I really do. Like, I love dancing in the club. Like, I love, like dressing up, having a good time, going out. Like, and my ex, he said, like, something along the lines of, like, why do you need to, like, dance? Like, you're just dancing for other people. Like, why can't you dance at home? Like, why are you wearing that? Who's like attention you're looking for? And that's just like, especially in that point, like, it made me doubt everything, because I hadn't had that experience.
You were so young, right?
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
We had just started clubbing. You're in that age where, like, everyone's going
and
out.
your whole confidence, he's just
like, and I think it's hard because that just obviously stems from insecurity and things like that. There was also a thing of, like, I couldn't post, like, on Instagram, because he would be like, oh, who are you posting for? And
men, I would say men, but that's not true. Men, women,
everyone. But I think, yeah, this was a guy.
Oh, wow.
What about you?
Okay, I have so many, but the one that hit the most was, you have so much love to give, but I don't need that much. I don't need that. I was like,
all you can do is love, because you will.
Yeah, I didn't cry for like a week. I was
right,
I
or
was
just
like
be numb. Like, what do you even say to that?
I don't even know. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say sorry for loving the way I love. I think it's beautiful.
For sure.
Yeah.
But in that moment, because I feel like you come across as a very confident person, like, very sure.
Ooh.
But in that moment, how did you feel?
I felt crushed. I felt like I doubt myself. Like, what is this happening? Like, did I do something wrong? Did I give too much? But one thing that I talk with my psychologist is that I'm a giver, right? But I give them love, but I give them so much love because I love them the way I want to be loved. So I'm kind of lacking on that part, but they cannot meet me there. And it's not that I'm a overgiver, but at some point I need to set my own boundaries and say, like, this is enough, because even though I can love you so much and I want the best for you, I don't think I'm receiving the same, and I don't think we look at life in the same way, and we don't want the same goals in a relationship. Everything is about communication. If you can communicate well with a partner, it's not about connection, you know? It's not about even love, because feelings come and go, but it's more like a choice, right?
Yes. I completely agree. Like,
what do you think?
I feel like we were saying before, on the note of, like, it's not, you're just loving someone the way that you want to be loved. We also talked about this before, is that there's so much like out there, especially now, which is great, about talking about, like, past trauma and things like that. It's not always so, like, dramatic as that. Like, you could have healed everything in the past if you've, like, done that, like, work, but it can just be a simple thing of like, okay, this is just the way I want to be loved, and I'm not seeing, like, through the rose-tinted glasses that this is not being reciprocated.
Even if you love them so much and you realize they're not loving you the way you want to be loved, and you tell them and they don't change anything, that hurts too.
It does.
Because you open up yourself, all your vulnerable parts, and you give them to them. And then if they ended up hurting you, it's on them, it's not on you. It's something that you cannot control, someone hurting you. Even like romantic relationship, friendship, family members, you don't know who's going to hurt you at the end. What you know is, even if you've been heartbroken, if you've been hurt in a very deep way, girl, that love is yours.
It really
will always be yours.
It really is. And I feel like the only way, like, when you've broken up with someone, is like, the only way to go about giving that back to yourself is just, like, learning that you deserve it and finding ways to give it back to yourself as well. Think, okay, what have I been missing? How can I return this to myself? Like, because inevitably in breakups, like, you realize how much you've lost in that energy, and I think that's a great way to get through it. And therapy if needed.
Yeah. And we've been through therapy. I think it's really I'm still going. I started therapy. Like,
I'm still going as well. Every now and then.
It's beautiful, because having someone there telling you all the things that you don't want to hear, and also giving you another perspective. Therapy is so important.
I agree. And I think Also, though, like, there are times where you can go to therapy and think, okay, like, I feel like I'm fine now, or like, you don't feel like you're mentally ready to do it. Like, when you're really low, sometimes it's just not like plausible. Like, it's not possible to do. But I think, learning that, especially when you find a good one, because it's like trial and error, I think sometimes.
It is.
When you find that person and knowing that you can go back to it when you need to is a great thing. Even just finding someone that can listen to you.
Yeah, it is.
Who is outside of your circle is, more healing than I think you ever know until you do it. Like,
One question, how do you first feel when we started talking about feelings? Like, for me, something that I do and that I feel like I connect the most with people. But from your part, that because we haven't known each other for such a long time, how do you feel?
I think, and perhaps this is because I went to therapy, or I just now have great friends around me, but this was learned that this is what I needed, because I was awful at communicating before, even like just talking to people, like friends around me. And I found it really hard to talk about feelings until I felt like I had to. And now I also feel like that's how I connect with people, is just being vulnerable, no matter how like scary it is, you know?
Very scary. You're really brave.
But I think, once you find like a joy out of doing it, and you find friendships through how we have, like, you realize that it's so worth it. And it becomes easier.
It becomes easier with time and with the right people, for sure.
Yeah. And then you end up attracting good relationships. Exactly. But it's so scary. Like,
so scary.
It's almost like coming at a point where you're like, okay, I know I could go this way and not open up, or whoever this person is, family, friends, or I could go this way. And once you go this way, more often than not, I think it does work out fine. And then you can learn.
One thing that people can connect with, and maybe most of the people have experienced, are heartbreaks. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, it's just a beautiful thing, a painful thing, but it's something we all have to experience at some point to really get to understand ourselves better. Yeah.
I think it's a misconception sometimes that, like, once you're over someone, you're over someone.
Yeah.
And, like, or there's a certain amount that it takes. But I think the one thing that I've learned, I don't know about you, is, like, it's so, like, this. You can be like this for so long and think you're like completely over the situation, and then have like a low point.
Of course.
And I think the one thing that I wish that I had been told, or like would know, is that like it isn't always going to be like this or this, and it doesn't mean you're going backwards.
Exactly. There's no linear healing towards having a really bad heartbreak.
Yes.
It's not linear. It's always roller coaster, and maybe you feel your best and you're ready. But no, you take your time. Nothing is easy.
Right.
Nothing is easy, especially when it comes to love.
Yeah.
And what I've learned the most, what have you learned the most with your heartbreaks?
I was going to ask you that. I think
really?
Me, yeah.
Okay, go girl.
I feel like with me, what I've learned is that kind of what you touched on earlier, is that no one is going to be there forever except you. The only unconditional love that you should be ever giving, as much as it's like romanticized and whatever it is, to yourself. Because, no one is there permanently. No one is there.
No one is. Even if you want them to. Yeah, no one is.
And there's no loss from like unconditionally learning to love yourself. I think like it's the basis of all good relationships, like platonic, family, like romantic. It is what brings happiness and allows you to like uplift yourself and uplift others.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. What about you?
I think there's not such thing as true love without embracing your true self. So
this is good. This is so good.
So sometimes it's really hard because we kind of want to shape us. And for my two past like relationships, I kind of ended up making them my world and losing a little bit of myself in the process, different in each kind. And also the fact that I would call someone that really loves me, a friendship or romantic relationship, if they are able to get to know me, get to know the real me, not the one that is a little bit broken when I experience bad things or in pain, but they are able to remind me of my worth, remind me of my true essence, and remind me of all the love that I have. That is beautiful, and that is love for me. And it is sad when, of course, like you get your heart broken and people cannot do that, but it's okay. We can just put the pieces back together, and at some point, someone will arrive into your life, and I hope they do, that will hold that love, cherish it every day, it will help you even heal more if it's the right person,
Mm-hmm.
is a hope that we all should have in our life, and an idea, and then maybe just a way of looking towards better times to come. I just wanted to share that for the last part.
That, like, is something which I feel like I will never, like, forget. Like, you captured it so perfectly, like, just in, like, even in the simple way of just saying, okay, yeah, it all starts, like, with your true self. Like, everything else, I think, can slowly fall in line. You know, things aren't perfect, and you'll have days where, like, you'll feel like you're so lost, but yeah, once you have that, like, direction.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I love having this conversation with you. Probably this one will be released once you're gone, but I will go visit you, girl. No worries, I will be there next year. And thank you all for listening to this podcast, this conversation about heartbreaks and love.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please feel welcome to share and give some love. And thank you. See you next time.
Bye.
Yeah, we did it. Wow.
That was so fun.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. I think I healed myself even more.
Girl, honestly, I love our conversations because I'm just like,
we always discover something else, right? And we're like, yeah.
Especially at the end there, like what you said, I feel like I almost like was left a bit, not to even sound dramatic, I was left a bit speechless because genuinely, because I just feel like I haven't been able to put it into words, like, and then you describe it like that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not alone in that feeling, you know?
You're not. That's why I'm doing this, because I feel so many people might feel the same, and they cannot put it into words, and maybe they cannot talk about it with their friends because we don't know what everyone is experiencing, right? That at some point you learn that the more you share, maybe the more love you can give, and the more like, I don't know, sometimes when people just listen to you and they're not that open, or they don't have that ability to open up themselves, but just by listening to you, they learn something.
Yeah.
It's like a little thought in their heads that can grow
and they
over
don't
time.
even realize,
and they don't even realize at
Yeah.
that point, but afterwards, like, wow. So
I feel like
I love like doing this.
Yeah. And like for you as well, like
Wait, you come around, listen.
Hey.